I've done lots of reading on forums and through comments on this channel over the years. I've read specifically about people sharing their experiences with mania and even in some cases talking about the aftermath of their respective manic episode. A common theme that underscores the vast majority of, if not all, of the stories that I read is that there's an element of embarrassment that comes in the aftermath of mania. And so in this video, I'm going to discuss the embarrassment I felt during the recovery process after a 6 month long bipolar manic episode disrupted my life. First thing I'll say is that the truth is, how others perceive me has always been a pretty huge deal for me, even as someone who's highly introverted. Even though I'm introverted, I've still always had a craving for that sense of belonging, that sense of peer approval. I don't want people to think that I'm weird or to see me as some type of outcast. But that is precisely what happened as a result of my manic episode. During my mania, I exhibited a wide array of, well, let's just say, embarrassing behaviors. These embarrassing behaviors included, but are not limited to, thinking that I was related to JFK Jr., believing that I was an extravagant, affluent person worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and I was going to make everybody rich. And at the same time, I also believed that government agents were after me, and I suspected certain people of being communist agents or Nazi spies. And I lost my trust and faith in practically everybody. Nobody could get a word in with me during mania. I sent out lengthy text messages, taking my job as social media manager for my college fraternity super serious, way more serious than anybody should take anything serious. And I would send out these lengthy, garrulous statements talking about the grand strategy that I have devised and delineating all the components of that grand plan that I had devised, the strategic plan of action that I had put together. And so there was no shortage of embarrassing behaviors that I did, things that I did that were out of the ordinary, that were not typical of Tyler Adolfo. And people caught on and people started to distance themselves. And I don't blame them for that. I can't cast judgment or cast aspersions about their character for what they did, because at the end of the day, we were all 20-year-old somethings, and at least most of the people around me were 20-year-old somethings. I was in college, living in a frat house, and the truth is the world doesn't prepare us. It doesn't adequately prepare us or supply us with the resources and information necessary to make sound, proactive decisions when it comes to mental health. I experienced a significant mental health episode, 6 months long of bipolar mania, of not having control of my central command center. It's not something I would wish on my worst enemy. A major part of it that's embarrassing for me, looking back on this, whenever I think back on it, is I'll go on to these social media sites such as LinkedIn or Instagram, and I see where my friends are at in life, or former friends are now at in life, and I compare it to myself. And these unhealthy standards of comparison take a massive toll. They're a heavy burden to bear for somebody who's already dealing with what's on its own, a traumatizing experience, and now you're just engaging in this kind of self-loathing behavior of being hard on yourself based on how you're performing relative to others. I feel like I have fallen so far behind my peers, and like there is no chance that I will ever catch up. And what's kind of helped me shift in perspective with that is just that I'm not like everybody else. I have a mental health disorder that affects such an incredibly small percentage of the world population. It's a severe illness, a severe brain disorder that has lifelong consequences when not treated properly. And so I in part say, well, I'm not like everyone else, and we all have our own challenges. One of my idiosyncrasies is that I have a severe brain disorder called bipolar disorder. But it doesn't define every aspect of who I am. And I don't want it to be a mitigating factor in whether or not I'm successful. It will be a mitigating factor, but the extent to which it's a mitigating factor will vary depending on the outlook and perspective I have and the routines that I develop going forward. I do feel like sometimes I'm different in like a very negative lens too. Like I feel like I'm weak because I have bipolar disorder, or that maybe God made a mistake when I was made, and while crafting me and assembling me, I just got the wrong pieces. And in terms of mental illness, I certainly didn't hit the genetic lottery. But I still remain an ardent believer in God. I'm a passionate believer, in fact, ever since I was young. And so I bring that up just because that's something that was present in my manic episode, is I actually had religious delusions, and I engaged in blasphemous behavior such as signing my name as Jesus in on a guest list and believing that I was the Messiah at various points. Ultimately, when looking back on all this and thinking about what is it that has enabled me to kind of carry on and go outside again, knowing the things I said and did to all these people, the sporadic messages I sent on social media and through text, the negative, antagonistic behaviors I exhibited in person towards family, towards friends, towards my fraternity brothers, towards my colleagues, towards my boss. What's propelled me to be able to go outside again and hold my head up high to an extent? Well, it's this. What has helped me partially move on is realizing that not everyone else is thinking about me as much as I think they are thinking about me. If they are thinking about me at all. At all. And so I look back on what transpired. I look at where I am today. I see the progress that has been made. And I think to myself, what is the likelihood that people are still thinking about this episode I had? I mean, perhaps it arises in conversations at times, on a case-by-case basis, approximately every set period of time. I'll never know the answer to that for sure, but I know it's not nearly as much as I think it is. I know it's not happening as often as I think it is. And so, in closing, I acknowledge that my episode was profoundly traumatizing, and I'll never be able to fully move on. I can never forget what happened. I lost control of my central command center. That's not something I take very lightly, and I consider it a blessing to have it today. At the end of the day, though, I recognize that I am the author of my story, and that with or without bipolar disorder, I possess within my power the ability to chart my course, to build my future the way that I see fit. So I'm going to keep building on the momentum that I have in terms of shifts of mindset and perspective, and of being able to internalize and process the idea that, yeah, other people probably aren't thinking about you as much as you think, buddy. Has been such a huge relief. It's alleviated a great deal of stress. It's reduced a great burden of mine. by a lot. I'm going to keep making progress. I'm proud of how far I've come. And for anyone out there who is struggling, please never give up. I thought my life was over. I thought I would never work again. I thought I would never go to school again. Well, I'm back in school and I'm on track to getting my degree in spring 2027. If you want to learn more about my story, hit that subscribe button. Check out my playlist, Bipolar Breakdown. I have more than 100 videos where I talk about my experiences with bipolar. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Love, light, and tranquility to all.